And we are live. All right, I'll go ahead and call to order the regular meeting of the City Council for February 20th, 2024. Councilmember Gardner will be leading invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for this day, and we're so thankful for the beautiful weather that you blessed us with lately, God, and the coming around of spring, and we're thankful for this city that we can live in and enjoy this beautiful time to get outside and enjoy our parks and trails, God. Thank you for the blessings that you give us each and every day and all the wonderful things that we get to enjoy here in this city. We pray that you would keep especially those that serve our city and the police and fire and medical and all those that serve here at City Hall and throughout our city, keeping us safe and taking care of this wonderful place, God. We're asking tonight for wisdom in all that we do. God, grant us the ability to discern the things that we need to make good judgments for the city so that we can help make this place a better place in the future. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Gardner. All right, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes for the February 5th regular meeting. A copy was included in the council packet. If there's no, Councilmember Tierney?
Yeah, make a motion to approve the minutes.
I've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. The next order of business is public comment. Do I have any public comment cards? Okay, we will move on to financial statement review. Ms. Sousa, come on down.
Hello, good evening, board members. We are going to review, talk a little bit about January 2024. But before going there, in the right side, I put the prior year actuals. Last time I was not able to assist, but Mary Nelson presented it. It is still unaudited. It is still temporary. We have been working in the closing. I think you are all aware it takes 1 to 2 months to close to have everything here. So the numbers are going to be changing until it is audited, the data. But for now, I really wanted to tell you that we catch that we have not done the accrual for payroll for December. So that was around like $500,000 in December. And we haven't, and we recorded some capital expenditures that we have not recorded as of December. Based on these two big adjustments that we did as of December, if you see the excess of revenue over expenses, I don't know if you recall your number that we presented, but it was around 2 million, and now it's 1.4 million. So it reduces because the expenses increase. I just wanted to be transparent with you that this is a different number, and in order you don't get any surprise. I don't know if you have any question on that, but we can review it if you want further. Then talking about January 2024, the first screen is the general fund. January and February, and I think you all know that, but I just want to be sure that you understand this. The revenue is smaller than the expenditures in January, also in February, because we already made the accrual as of December. And in accounting, we register on cash basis. We are usually 1 month, sometimes 2 months delay on the collections. So we do not have revenue really registered for 2024 as of now. That's why the reason the expenses are higher than the revenues. And for January, for the general fund, we have 239,950 excess or deficit because the expenditures are high. with the funds, since we have an initial fund with the adjustment that I mentioned to you for 2023, we start with 14 million minus the 200. As of the end of January 2024, we have 13.8 million as a general fund. So we are in a good health in this fund. The only revenues that are true revenues for this January, not true revenues, but recorded accordingly with collections, are the different than taxes. Anything different than taxes is a true revenue, like here, like the investment income, for example, to give you an example. But there is nothing really to report here, just that looks different because looks that we are spending much money, but it's January. The second page is the street fund. Okay, perfect. In the street fund, it happened the same. We don't have revenue for January recorded as of today. The expenses are higher, so we have a 20,000 loss for the streets in January. I left incorrectly a 1.6 million there. You have to cross it. It was just a reference. I don't know where it came from, sincerely. But the result for January is 20,000 negative number. The expenses are higher. The balance fund, we started with 5.2 million. We have, at the end of January, 5.2 million fund balance in the street fund. So we are okay so far. The next one is the sanitation fund. In the sanitation fund, we have expenses over revenue for $34,000. As soon as the study is finalized and you guys review how much is going to be adjusted, this will have to be looking better during the year. We have 755,000 fund balance at the beginning of the year. As of end of January, we have 721,000. And the last page is for the police fund. This is just informative data, but the same process. We have 166,000 more on expenses because the revenue gets until February. So we have 153 negative balance result. So with the fund balance, that was 153,000. That is our fund in that account. So the balance is zero. So that's all what I have for this month. And now let's go for the little brief on the audit report for all of you. I think we are doing pretty well. The audit field was finalized, so we provide everything to the auditors. They are just doing the final documentation for the audit field. So that was very good news for us that they say, yes, we have everything. I asked them when they can start the ACFR report, because it's what we need to say that the city is on time. They are starting at the beginning of March. I'm already started with them to fill out the statistics that they need to have them ready for next week. But other than that, I think I continue with my full team. They were not able to be here all today. Mary Green is here, but it's a very good team. So that's very important for the city. So that's all what I have for today, if you have any question.
Thank you. Any questions? Council Member Mosley?
Yeah, I did speak with, I called the auditors the other day just to make sure they had, I think it was second meeting of March that we agreed to have them come back. And they said they had that on their calendar. Somebody would drop by. I don't know if it was Mr. Coleman or Mr. Elmore, but said they'd come by and give us an update. And I asked them how Ms. Sousa was doing, and they said, oh, we enjoy working with her. So said she's pretty responsive, and they confirmed that they're going to be doing the ACFR report. So anyway, so I guess they'll give more details when they come by.
Yes.
I guess. Thank you very much.
Any additional comments? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to accept the financials.
So moved. Second.
I've got a motion second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Sousa.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item 9 on the agenda, procedural motion. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to have all ordinances and resolutions read by title only.
So moved. Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. First item of unfinished business is the third reading of ordinance 1109, amending section 2-64 of the city code. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1109, an ordinance to amend Section 2-64 of the Maumelle City Code concerning the order of business at council meetings and for other purposes.
I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion. Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, again, this is, really doesn't change much what was on the books. As it turned out, we already had something on the books. It did just kind of reiterate in more detail what items should probably be presented and included in the packet before a meeting. And again, there's a safeguard that the city attorney inserted that makes sure that even if we don't comply with this, it doesn't allow somebody to say we did not act on something. So anyway, I think we're good to go on this. Thank you.
Councilmember Mazzoni?
Motion to approve ordinance 1109.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second to approve ordinance 1109. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Shin,
Yes.
Councilmember Tierney,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams, Councilmember Gardner,
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzoni,
Yes.
Councilmember Grunwald, Councilmember Mosley.
Yes.
Motion passes. Ordinance 1109 is adopted. With that, we'll move on to the second item of unfinished business, which is the third reading of ordinance 1110, amending the Maumelle Code definition. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1110, an ordinance to amend the Maumelle City Code's definition of family for purposes of the zoning regulations and for other purposes.
I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion.
Motion to approve ordinance 1110. Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, I brought this up trying to limit the number of people in households that are not related. And the city attorney was kind enough to do a very detailed memorandum on that. And it sounds like there's a lot of considerations for changing something that's related to that situation with disabilities and developmental disabilities and that sort of thing. And apparently, the number 8 is kind of magical also. And I don't mean to say that in a joking manner, but it's apparently a number that's included and addressed in a lot of, I guess, regulations on up to the federal level. So I'm gonna withdraw my objections to that, and I guess we probably ought to just go ahead and pass it.
Any additional discussion? All right, the motion on the floor is to adopt ordinance 1110. Madam City Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Mosley,
Yes.
Councilmember Grunwald, Councilmember Mazzoni,
Yes.
Councilmember Gardner,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams, Councilmember Tierney,
Yes.
Councilmember Shin,
Yes.
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Motion passes. That brings us to the next item on unfinished business, the third reading of ordinance 1111, accepting dedication of streets and drainage. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled ordinance number 1111, an ordinance to accept and confirm the dedication of certain streets and drainage in a development known as Stone Canyon Addition subdivision, and for other purposes.
All right, I'll open the floor for discussion.
Motion to approve ordinance 1111.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Mosley?
Yes.
Councilmember Grunwald?
Hang on a second. I didn't hit the right button. There we go. And just for the record, Councilmember Mosley and Grunwald's votes were
Yes.
yes. All right, thank you.
Councilmember Mazzoni?
Yes.
Councilmember Gardner?
Yes.
Councilmember Williams? Yes. Councilmember Tierney?
Yes.
Councilmember Shin?
Yes.
Councilmember Holt?
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Who seconded that?
We both did.
It's one of those coin tosses where you have a second, third, and maybe even a fourth. All right, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is a second reading of ordinance 1112, amending the city code to include an audit committee. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
Be it enacted by the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled ordinance number 1112, an ordinance to amend the Maumelle City Code to create an audit committee of the City Council and for other purposes.
All right, I'll open the floor for discussion. Councilmember Gardner?
This was amended at the previous meeting, correct?
Yes.
The ordinance that's in the packet is not the correct ordinance then? It's still the old language?
So it is.
So do we need to delay the second reading until next meeting? Since we
Mr.
don't-
City Attorney, I don't know if that's a,
I mean, I don't have the language here in front of me to even,
If I might comment at some point here.
yes, sir. Is there any reason why we can't have the second reading? Checking the minutes. It's almost like they're there for a reason.
The minutes are correct.
So, in the minutes, it does reflect that language. I think we've already read it. I think it's fine. But,
From the minutes of the last meeting, the amendment that was adopted was to strike the first sentence of section 2 and replace it with the following. The audit committee shall include all council members volunteering to serve and appointed by the city council.
so the language referencing council members' education has been stricken?
That's correct, sir.
Thank you.
And the number.
And the numbers changed, yes.
all right, did you have anything further, Mr. Gardner? Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, Mr. Gardner beat me to the button there. It did get omitted there, so that is what Mr. Thornton read is the correct amount, the correct wording. That was changed. That was a motion I made. Ms. Grunwald, you weren't there last meeting, and I'd considered your comments and a couple other council members' comments, and decided to just open that up. There's no reason to really have that. So anybody that wants to serve can serve. The idea is to, if it passes, we'll, that meeting or the next meeting, we'll just ask who wants to be on it, and we'll make a motion and put them on that committee, and off we'll go. So anyway, be thinking about that. But anyway, that's the only change we made. And so what did we decide? Is this, can we read this tonight? Is this okay? All right. Okay, so anyway, that was made. Anybody have any questions or any comments at this point? Again, I would, one thing that we got is we got a letter from the Forvis talking about the audit and that sort of thing. And it occurred to me, and when I was talking to him on the phone the other day, I asked about internal controls, and if our internal controls are good, does that cut down on their audit procedures and actually allow them to do the audit with less testing and that sort of thing? And they actually said yes. The better our controls are, the more they can rely on them when they're doing the audit. And so that's another reason to go ahead and have an audit committee, because they'll be, if we address some of these weaknesses that we find that come up and get those corrected, then they'll probably be spending less time on the audit. Maybe they'll even reduce their fee, I don't know. So anyway, I thought I'd mention that. Thank you.
So I have a question, Mr. Mosley.
Sure.
It sounds like you want this task force to be setting internal control policy for the finance department?
Not necessarily, just following up on the audit, and actually I put something in the packet that the auditor sent the city that had some additional weaknesses that were discussed orally with the city during the audit. And that's the kind of thing we just basically just follow up with the finance director and see if those things are being corrected. That would be that would be how I view that. Thank you.
Any additional comments? All right, this will be on third reading at the next city council meeting. Next up is the resolution 2024-02, approving a preliminary development plan. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2024-02, a resolution to approve the preliminary development plan of Lot 1 Express Edition, proposed take oil change at Crystal Hill Road and Maumelle Boulevard.
Thank you, ma'am. So the council tabled this at the last city council meeting, and with a request from the city attorney to provide additional guidance on sort of what it was that the city council was evaluating. City attorney included a lengthy memo on the topic in the council packet, so hopefully everyone's had a chance to read that. With that, I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion. Councilmember Tierney?
Yes, I'm looking at the diagram that was included in our packet. There is no information in there showing anything about the green belt and how it will be affected and where it will be running on that map. And I was wondering if Mr. Grummer might like to make a comment about that.
Are you talking about the Greenway?
Greenway,
The
yeah.
Greenway is on the other side of the street.
Okay. I was looking at the map and it wasn't showing it there, so.
Gotcha, yeah. Mr. Grummer, did you have anything to add to that?
Well, the mayor is correct. It is on the other side. One thing I will point out, and I did speak to the developer on this, that this plan does not show a sidewalk on this side, which it should show a sidewalk. There's no connectivity across any of the boulevard to get to the other side of the boulevard, so I'm sure in the future there may be opportunities for that, so we'll make accommodations for that.
Thank you, sir. Any additional discussion? Councilmember Mosley?
Mr. Gardner, you didn't have any further discussion on that?
Councilmember Gardner?
Well, I think everybody needs to make their own decision on what they feel is best for that area. And so I guess I'll just leave it at that. I think everybody can make their own decision on what they feel is good for the area and good for growth. So I appreciate the memorandum, though, that the city attorney put in there, kind of outlining how we are allowed to look at developments that potentially would be coming into the city and how that could affect the neighborhood, and how it could affect other developments that might happen in the area. So that's just kind of what I'm taking into consideration. But I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Thank you, sir. Any additional discussion on this resolution? Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, I'll vote yes on this. As long as this met all the requirements of the planning commission and all that, we need to go ahead and approve these things. And if the landowner and the developer can't come to terms on going ahead and finalizing a sale, that's up to them. But as far as what we'd like there or what we wouldn't, it's up to the developer and the landowner. And if everything's been approved, I guess we need to approve it. Thank you.
Any additional discussion? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to adopt Resolution 2024-02. I'm sorry, Councilmember Williams. I've got a motion to adopt. Is there a second? A motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no.
No.
Roll call vote, please. You got it?
Councilmember Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Shin,
No.
Councilmember Tierney,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Councilmember Gardner,
No.
Councilmember Mazzoni,
Yes.
Councilmember Grunwald,
Yes.
Councilmember Mosley.
Oh, yes.
Motion passes. Resolution 2024-02 is adopted, which brings us to the next agenda item, which says 2021 audit memo. I believe that's in the council packet at your request, Mr. Mosley.
Yeah, in fact, I already kind of mentioned that earlier. This is something the city attorney forwarded to me, I guess early last week. When we were getting the audit from the auditors, I asked them if they would give us all weaknesses that they came up with of our internal controls. So apparently this is what that was. This is a memo they sent to City Attorney Thornton. I don't think it was forwarded to anybody else. So that's why I put it in the packet, because these are the items that I had asked them for and we were wanting to see. And the segregation of duties, again, that's kind of a big one there. There were incompatible duties within a couple of functions there, and it increases the chance of misappropriation of assets and fraud and that sort of thing if there's not good separation of duties. So this is the kind of thing I'm looking for to, hopefully the audit committee can make sure these things get corrected, and I'm confident our new finance director will get that done. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Mr. Mosley. So I'm still trying to understand the audit committee. How is the audit committee going to help ensure that, for example, the segregation of duties issue that has been in the past and probably will be until we can hire more people? How is the audit committee, what is the audit committee's role, or how do you see the audit committee helping with this?
Mainly just following up probably with Ms. Sousa and the auditors, staying in touch with the auditors, asking them if they've discovered anything we need to be correcting, what are the best practices that an accounting department like ours should be having, and maybe try to work toward those. And the more we get good segregation of duties and things like that, the less they're going to be having to do procedures.
Got you. So just to pass on to the city council, so the auditors are required to tell us about those, and I wish I would have brought the specific material or the specific sort of findings. They typically report to the city council too. They're required to do the most significant, or they currently report to the city council 3 things, and they're only required to do 2. So the auditors go above and beyond, as the city's request has been, to say, go ahead and put into writing what this other category is, and let's disseminate it to the board. We're now in the position where we're asking the auditors to write down in the scope of their audit anything that they say to the finance department, so that during the course of the entire audit, what are you saying to them that doesn't rise to the level that is mandated to be reported and doesn't rise to that other level? But please write those things down so that we can then give this presumably to a future audit committee whose job it is going to be to follow up with, I guess, the finance department to make sure that these things just being spoken in the course of the audit are taken care of. So we've been having verbal communications about which is one of the great benefits of the auditors. One of the reasons that when we switched auditors, we'd talk about how fresh set of eyes is going to point out, and hopefully catch things that the other auditors didn't, because they've got a different take and a fresh, clean look at it. When we announced that we did expect there to be, whenever you change auditors after being with someone that long and then the current condition, for there to be deficiencies. So now we're going out and saying, what are the course of your day-to-day actions when you're sitting there and going, oh, hey, you know what? I'd suggest you just you guys can clean this up, it'll be better next time. Now those are being put in writing and forming a committee, with the proposal to form a committee, that committee is then following up with the finance department for those sorts of things. So I would just ask y'all to think about how that interplays with both what the auditors are telling us and not, and with the workloads from that department. So I don't know that there's ever been a year that there haven't been verbal deficiencies communicated, and what typically happens if verbal deficiencies aren't fixed, then in year 2 is usually when you see them as an actual finding on the audit. So those things tend to be sorted out through the process already. I will say right now, I can fix segregation of duties with 2 employees for sure, and maybe with 1 more employee. It is what has been said for many times back when we had the Financial Oversight Committee. It's what's said every time the auditors come in. When you have a very small finance department, the ability to segregate a lot of those duties out so that no person is sort of having 2 steps in that is very difficult. So what the auditors work with the city on is trying to find those things that are most likely to result in the sorts of theft, fraud, and misstatements that are the highest, that are the most likely and the most vulnerable issue. So just a little bit of feedback on sort of the extra steps we're taking now as part of the audit. Anyone have anything else on this? Councilmember Mosley?
Based on about a 10-year history of our accounting department here, we've gotten behind on the audits, and had a couple of finance directors came in and said, oh, internal controls are great, and then we find out they're really not great. So I don't see a problem with having an audit committee and doing that, and if it becomes something that we don't need anymore, we can always disband it. We can always, you can remove audit committee members if the council doesn't think it's going right or whatever. So I think it's a good thing. I don't see a problem unless the city doesn't want to improve their controls and those things. Thank you.
I'm sorry, you said we've had past finance directors saying that the internal controls were great? That's the exact opposite of what I seem to have recalled over the years, is what I just said was said in the past. Who are you saying said this?
The previous 2 finance directors.
Do you have any idea on when?
Oh, just at council meetings, I'd asked about it, and they said, oh, we've got it all shored up, everything's good. At least
Okay.
that's what I understood, so.
If you can give me any indication of what minutes to look through, because I'd like to take a look at those. That seems the exact opposite of what I recall having been said at the meetings. Thank you, sir. Councilmember Holt?
Mr. Mayor, I'm actually neutral on this, but at the same time, based on the regulation that we have talked about a number of times about city council having management and control of all finances and real property, it technically would satisfy the individuals as we're not allowed to speak to each other about anything regarding city business until we are in the chamber. So it might allow in that format that if it's an official meeting, we could at least discuss among ourselves without any necessary major decision, but to review those things that would be relevant to us at that point. Also, if we, the city council members, are satisfied that we feel like, there's always the shadow of, well, is the city doing this or somebody doing that and all kind. It's always that way, I think, in all cities. But if the city council members are satisfied that, well, yeah, we feel like everything's going pretty well, then maybe it helps the city to fend off, whatever shadows there are out there. So it's sort of a neutral thing. I'm not for it, but I'm not against it. And it might just give somebody the opportunity to talk, and I don't know if they'd ever have authority to ask anyone to come before that little committee or before the committee and share, something that they think is relevant. That's all to be set up in the future, I suppose. But anyway, that's my thoughts about it, that it has some good points, but it's not going to solve all the problems. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir, for those points. First of all, you are right that the city council has control of the city's finances and real property. The control over the finances is primarily through the appropriations. I don't think what you're saying is that it's the city council is over every step that goes through the purchasing of products and all of those steps. I think you hit what is the most important thing with your second point. And that due to the delays of the audit, there are people that ask, well, what's taking so long, right? And so first of all, I've been very hesitant to oppose this because of how it looks, right? Like, I certainly am not trying to say, I don't want you to see what's going on with the audit. I mean, I think we continue to talk about it an excessive amount. But it feels awkward if me as the mayor is the one opposing the creation of a new committee designed to get the city council. I'm not really sure what it's designed to do. I think it's designed primarily to what your second point was, is to let's take action so that we say we can take action. And I thought long and hard about that, just saying, just keep my mouth quiet. It allows everyone to feel like they're doing something, and it doesn't, have, it doesn't offend me. But I also think I'm working to try and get the audit caught up, and the more that we're having to deviate from that primary mission in order to satisfy sort of the ability to say, oh, I've done something and make it look good, it's where I've struggled, because I see real hindrances and delays, not massive, not massive. We've got a finance department that is burning, they're just turning and going. And in fact, I bet I could get Ms. Sousa to spur of the moment come up here and ask for another person or something. I'm not saying that. A request for another person in that department to speed things along, or some way to help human resources with the payroll side, and things like that can speed up. So anytime there's any one of these things come across, or you're preparing for committee meetings, those are interruptions to what that person would ordinarily be done. I think Councilmember Mosley pointed out a great point that that the auditor said it takes about 40 hours or something, about a work week, to do the ACFR, at least their part, not all the part that we still have to do even when we're hiring them, all the statistical information and the parts that we're still doing. Do you know how valuable 40 hours of uninterrupted time is to the finance department? Do you know that that requires someone to shut their door, and for when there's a random payroll question or a random mayor running in and saying, why hasn't this person been paid, or any of the plethora of interruptions that they have that are all emergencies in everyone else's eyes? It is not a department that's sitting around twiddling their thumbs going, you know what I would like to do is I would like to answer to an audit committee, verify that we're doing what the auditors just told us to do, right? And so, sure, it makes everyone look like you're doing something, and it sounds like you're doing something, and it sounds harmless, but I don't think it'll be quite as harmless as maybe some people do. So I feel an obligation to point out these things and to point those out to the city council, even though I know that people that don't like me or think that I'm whatever are going to say, oh, you're just doing that because you don't want the city council to see it. So I will tell this to the city, I will request this of the city council. If y'all think there is a need for an audit committee to do whatever it is it's supposed to be doing, please vote on it, and I will happily support the council's decision. I would say if the only reason you're doing it is so that you can say we've done something, then think hard about what the opportunity costs are in that session. So, Councilmember Shin?
I came on the council 3 years ago, and we had 18 and 19, and because of the problems that Liz had to come in and go back and fix, we had problems with 20 and 21. I guess my real question about the audit committee is why now? Why not in 19 or 20? It looks like we've made huge improvements. We're moving forward at fixing things and getting things caught up, but now we're going to add this. And having served on watchdog committees and having been questioned by watchdog committees, I really see this almost as a hindrance instead of a help. But
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, it looked like we were on track to get caught up on the audits and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I didn't think about this till last fall. So we got 8 months behind with one finance director leaving, and it was just kind of a fiasco for about 8 months. And I thought, okay, I started calling. I basically was doing what an audit committee probably should do, and trying to find out what was holding things up. So that's when I thought about it. It was just last fall. So at one point there, I thought we were going to get caught up and everything was going to be smooth sailing, but it didn't happen. So one thing I'd like to point out is audit committees, the direction we're going here, if we form one, is the same direction that most of the bigger, more progressive cities do in Arkansas, like Fayetteville and Fort Smith and those things. They have, not only do they have an audit committee, but they're big enough they actually hire an internal auditor that does procedures and that sort of thing. So we need to progress is what we need to do as far as this, and this is a good sign of progression. Once the committee gets going, we may find something, find other things we can do that would help. But if I were mayor, I'd welcome it. I'd say, yeah, let's have that. Let's improve things. That's a sign we're improving things. In fact, I would probably push to have legislative audit come in and do our audit. They're more control oriented. They do an audit and that sort of thing. So, but I know I've tried to push that in the past and it just doesn't seem to go. We'd rather spend $60,000 on an audit instead of getting it free and having some good, thorough internal control review. You know, I don't think it's an embarrassment to have internal controls revealed. I think it's a sign that there's a need for improvement, and let's get it improved. So, and Mayor, you don't have to answer the committee. We have no authority. The city attorney confirmed that we're just an advisory deal. So. I don't understand your pushback. So I think it's a progressive thing. I think it's a good thing. So I hope next week or next time we have a meeting, you'll vote for it.
Thank you, sir. Anything else? All right, we'll move on to new business. New business resolution 2024-04 to support Maumelle Friends of the Animals. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, A resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2024-04, a resolution to support the Maumelle Friends of the Animals personalized fire hydrant program in the city of Maumelle.
All right, thank you. So the CAW is the one that owns and operates the fire hydrants here. This is just a resolution from us supporting them in their request to enter into a formal agreement with CAW regarding the painting of those. Councilmember Mazzoni?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Loved them when they did it, and would love to see it back. So motion we approve.
I've got a motion and a second to approve. Just a fun fact, I had 2 buttons hit early on, and I assume both were to be the one to get the motion in. So with that, I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion on this motion. Mr. City Attorney?
There is an Exhibit A, which is a letter drafted by the Friends of the Animals, and I inadvertently left it out of the packet. So I would ask that someone make a motion to include that. You should have a copy of it by your desk.
Councilmember Williams?
I make a motion to include this into the packet.
Is that a motion to have that letter attached as Exhibit A?
Yes.
I've got a motion to have the letter that was included here today attached as Exhibit A to Resolution 2024-04. Is there any discussion on that motion? Councilmember Williams?
Oh, no, sorry.
If seeing none, Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, this is not a huge significant document here on something that's a big financial item or something like that, so yes, I'll vote for it.
All right, all those in support of the motion to add the letter that was included on your desk as Exhibit A to the resolution, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. With that, we have a motion and a second on the floor to adopt Resolution 2024-04. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the resolution as amended previously, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. All right, I included into the council packet, which was probably the biggest chunk of the packet for anyone that may have printed it out, Metro Plan's Metropolitan Transportation Plan for 2050. We're anticipating adopting this in March council meeting, but Councilmember Mosley had been asking some questions about getting RDOT in, or someone from Metro Plan to kind of come and talk about the traffic situation and other related entities or other related topics. So I wanted y'all to take a look at this. I know a fair number of y'all keep up with a lot of this stuff already, but I'd encourage you to look at Chapter 3, which focuses on the standardized best practices in terms of transportation and land development. And so in that section, it lists 8 core policies. I won't list all of them, but some of those core policies are core policy number 2, which is design and implement multimodal corridors. And so this was one of the things that sort of spurred what we're looking at doing on Club Manor, not because of this, but because of these principles that are mentioned there. I really encourage you to read, if nothing else, that section. There's core policy 3, which talks about just maintaining your current roadway network to prioritize projects that optimize your existing infrastructure before you look at expanding networks. So that's things such as trying to get the White Oak Crossing roundabout. That's sort of a system that's already there, and how are we optimizing it? We've been talking also about a Club Manor roundabout. How are we taking things within our existing system and improving their efficiency to move people around? Core policy 4 was develop the regional greenway to create a more complete transportation network. I don't think I need to talk too much about that, as we've been working on that with Club Manor and some other projects as well. Core policy 5 I found really interesting. It says strengthen coordination between land development and the transportation network by encouraging mixed use and flexibility in housing. In there, it has entire pages on different things such as rethinking commercial corridors, walkable town centers and neighborhood commercials, flexible and sustainable residential neighborhoods. Now, I know a lot of y'all attend different classes or educational opportunities, whether it's through some of the stuff at the Municipal League or going to CDI and the like, and so that's kind of stuff that you've heard of. But for those that haven't, I really encourage you to look at this and then how that impacts traffic and why is that sort of stuff in the region's metropolitan transportation plan. How does that stuff fit in there? So this is expected to be voted on in March. I would assume it'd get adopted. I spoke with Casey Covington and asked him to come out after this has been adopted and kind of present it to y'all and be available to answer any questions that you may have. So we're looking at either late March or early April, so trying to figure out a date that works for Casey. We can probably get someone else sooner, but if you want the executive director, which I recommend, we're looking at late March or early April are the days being suggested. So also of interesting note, as I was talking to Casey and we were talking about this, looking at mixed use and that there's been questions about traffic impact, he noted that his team can do land use, I'm going to butcher the terminology, but they can come in and look at different land uses in different areas and then run models of trip generation statistics. That is how those different land uses generate and attract trips, cars going up and down the street. We spoke with Scott, so we've got a meeting with them tomorrow out here, and not like an executive meeting, but with the I mean, I'll be there, and I'm sure Casey will be too. But the folks you really want are the planners and the number crunchers and the Scotts of the world who are going to dig down and get that stuff. So we're looking at a meeting with them tomorrow, and they think that they can, for example, do something that says, if you're looking at this sort of land use in your section of code versus this sort of land use in your section of code, and you're changing from this to this in this particular area, what do we think the trip generation is going to be? And so that'll be interesting. Though suffice to say, if all you're looking at is trip generation, then you don't want box stores, right? You wouldn't want a Walmart in the middle of town because the trip generation stats for that is out of the roof. Your chip generation stats for single family, very, very low compared to a Walmart. So it won't tell us the whole story, but it is information that has been requested, so we'll see what it looks like. Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, you stole some of my thunder there. I was going to be talking
Good.
about some of that. You did. I know you did that on purpose. But I have been extremely worried about filling up Maumelle Mill Boulevard again, like we had before we put in the third entrance. It was just, we were having gridlock, property values were suffering. I personally had people, I was trying to sell my house and downsize and couldn't get anybody interested. And if they did, they'd say, well, I checked it out. You guys I can't get into town from there. So
put it on the market now.
Yeah, now's the time if you're going to sell. So, but I don't want to see that happen again. I want us to do whatever is legally possible to preserve the Maumelle Boulevard, especially the trip down to 540, and keep that open. Because I called RDOT and talked to some people there, and I actually talked to Casey Covington also. I've been told that there's nothing about another entrance for Maumelle, and now the boulevard from Counts Massey to 540. It is on I guess, a 20-year plan to 6-lane that. And we got to talking about it, and they said, well, we're not sure we'll be able to add another lane to the entrance ramp to 540. So it may allow traffic to move back and forth within that corridor, but it's not going to help people get out in the morning. It's just going to move the bottleneck maybe down to 540 if they can't add that other entrance. And RDOT people were kind of pessimistic that would ever happen. So I think we need to look at it that what we've got is all we've got as far as capacity to get in and out of this town. So we need to preserve it. We need to try to channel traffic elsewhere. We need to try to stay away from high-density housing. That's why I object to the mixed use. I mean, the mixed use is all cool looking, but we've got to be careful. I think we need to be real careful. And Mr. Covington did tell me too. He said, "Yeah, we do free studies, land use, to see what might be appropriate in general and then I think specifically." And if they ever charge anything, he said it's a very little amount, something that would require something big. So as we go forward here, that thing's going to come back from the planning department, that zoning change. We don't need to be approving things until we're comfortable that we can, that the future of the city can get in and out of town in the morning. So that's what I'm worried about is rush hour traffic. So and our property values. So thank you.
Councilmember Tierney?
Yes, on the subject of rush hour traffic, Mr. Mosley and I both attended a meeting held by RDOT back when they were wanting to extend the sales tax and make it a permanent tax that had previously been temporary. And in there, they were pledging, hey, Maumelle Boulevard is going to be widened. Pass this tax or widen it. Then as soon as the tax is passed, they're like, what are you talking about? I said, well, maybe we'll think about it later. In the packet that you had sent to us, I noticed about how there is a future plan for widening it in there now, but it's only for the North Little Rock area. It does not plan. So we're still going to probably be having some gridlock within our city because if they just expand the part, from Count Massey over to the Interstate 40, I don't know how much that's going to help us during the rush hour because I remember driving in a rush hour and even later than rush hour, and it would be backed up past Walmart, well into the city, all the way down to Odom, and so that's still going to leave us with some problems. So I'm a little concerned about RDOT's long-term planning for Maumelle. So RDOT's probably going to affect our planning more than anything else because they're not planning for Maumelle's growth.
So thank you, sir. I have to go back to the council meeting whenever it was that RDOT announced their sort of, these are not going to be the official terms, but sort of their tiered listing of projects that they expected to be included in that funding, that they had sort of sold that package back in 2019 or whenever that was. They released that, and the widening of Maumelle Boulevard was actually included in their top tier, which I think was still like a 10-year anticipated window. And I can go back and try and find that, which I was sort of pleasantly surprised at that it was in that tier 1. And they had tiers that were sort of like, if we can get to it in 50 years, that was their goal. So Maumelle Boulevard widening was in the top tier, and I believe that's still the active list. And but that widening just goes from Counts Massey to 430 and back. So it's that part of the road. I would encourage y'all, if you haven't been out in the morning rush hour these days, as people are given sort of flexibility in how they're moving, go take a look at it. I remember being pleasantly disappointed during the last election. I normally held one of my big signs up at the Waffle House down in North Little Rock. And that was a good location because I thought I got good visibility. I was standing on concrete, not in mud. And in years past, the traffic would be stopped. It basically stopped right there. So every person going on, you got to kind of wave at them and make eye contact, no matter how much they tried not to. But I point that out, the last election was pleasantly disappointing in that regard. The traffic very rarely stacked to Waffle House, from Waffle House southbound. And so like pleasantly disappointing. Maybe next time I have to go down closer to the interchange, so that it is not the traffic pattern that it was 5 years ago. It is not the traffic pattern post-COVID and sort of the transformation in how some folks more folks are working from home. And with the third interchange operational, I encourage y'all to go out there one morning, not necessarily the Waffle House, but I like their coffee. So, and just kind of watch what it is. It's a different game than it was a few years ago. Councilmember Mosley.
Yeah, I thought I'd pass one other thing on for Mr. Covington. We were talking about this mixed use for the Track D, or what is it, Track D, is that what it is? Yeah. And it would also be nice to know where Mr. Grummer has other thoughts about putting that kind of stuff in. But one thing Mr. Covington mentioned, he said it would help to kind of visualize your job commute ratio. In other words, like in Bentonville, you've got Walmart that has their headquarters there very close to downtown, and so you got a lot of mixed use in downtown. People live down there and they ride their bikes to Walmart. And he said if those folks are going to be in a mixed use and they're going to be joining in rush hour traffic, then you've got to consider that, as opposed to where in Bentonville they may just stay where they are, so you don't have the traffic. So there's a lot of things to look at. I had one other comment I was going to say. I was going to talk about the Central Arkansas Transforming Mobility. I read a lot of that, and I read that section 5 of the one of the core items. As the mayor said, there's a little social engineering going on there. There's not a whole lot of talk about capacity in various parts of the city or traffic problems. There's a lot of talk about kind of the equity, inclusion, and all these catchwords that are now at the federal level. And I've been reading articles where this is a nationwide deal. This just isn't in Arkansas. They're trying to encourage that, and in some states and some cities, they're actually trying to dumb down zoning and land use to where they refer to it as zoning has, I guess, prohibited and kept people out that would normally or would want to get into the city. In other words, they may be, some of these cities, they may be going to where if your house burns down, you can rebuild with a duplex or a triplex or something like that. So we just got to be careful with this kind of stuff. And this may be another thing, I don't know, we want to adopt it. So, thank you.
We won't, when I said we will be adopting, I meant I'm on the Metro Plan board, so the Metro Plan board, will be adopting that. Not we, the Monmouth City Council. I'm sorry for that.
All right, thank you.
Anything else? If not, we'll move on to mayor's comments, and I'll spare you. So, council member comments. Councilmember Gardner.
Just a quick one. I had a young resident have to do an interview for his Cub Scout project, and during the course of my conversation with Mr. Aiden McCann, who's a fantastic soccer player, by the way, he learned that we should unplug our cords when they're not in use because it can save electricity. And he also asked if I would remind Maumelle residents to turn their lights off if they are not using them. I said I would be happy to mention that because it could save electricity.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Tierney.
Yes, we recently had an event here in Maumelle where we had some pretty bad storms come through, a lot of lightning. What was really bad was hail, the size of the hail, and a lot of people were impacted. A lot of wind damage also happened at the same time. And I know Mr. Grummer's department has been inundated with people filing for permits and this and that. I did have one roofer asked me that, to deal with this, to try to keep everything processed as fast as they can, and they're doing an excellent job with it. But they're requiring that people now provide the photos that the permit department used to take. And what they're curious about, is this gonna be a permanent thing, or is this just a temporary measure to get through the crisis we're dealing with now?
Mr. Grummer, if you could maybe talk about how many roofing permits you had maybe last
I've
year
mentioned it's
versus
been a
how many
bunch.
you've had in the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so the hailstorm that happened on January 11th was certainly pretty bad. I took pictures of the hail that hit my house, and they were golf ball size, and I'm having my roof replaced because of it. Last year, in the first 45 days of the year, we had 22 roof permits. This year, as of last Thursday, we had 118, and we're growing about 15 a day. So it's more than what we can handle internally. So we've set this up as a temporary process to handle the inspections where they're required to take specific type pictures with identification of the house. They upload that into our internal system, and then we have an internal person that goes over it and makes sure that everything is done properly. Once this wave is over with, then we'll go back to our normal inspection process. But I will say this, if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor, just to the public out there, roofs do require a permit in the city of Maumelle. There is a tremendous number of contractors coming into the city to take advantage of this opportunity, which means there are a lot of people that could take the public and take advantage of them. So I'd highly recommend that if you have solicitors that come to your house soliciting for roof permits, number one, are they on the solicitor's list, because they do have to apply with the city, and some are rejected because of their backgrounds. Make sure, check on that, but then also make sure that your roofers are on the up and up.
Thank you for that, and thank you for, can you move that before someone else dies? Out of the way is fine. Thank you for your sort of creative solution to, we just didn't think we could get out and inspect roofs, and so rather than just delay people, they can take photographs themselves and get it in there, which some folks don't like, but it's either that or wait a lot longer until we can't just hire and fire good roofing inspectors like that.
Right, yeah, that's what I figured, and, I do want to compliment his department, they're doing an excellent job. My house had a permit, and they got it processed right away, and so I know they're working under very difficult situations. I just wanted to clarify that this was a temporary measure.
Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up. I hadn't asked, in fact, it almost slipped my mind, but I hadn't asked about Crystal Hill Road in a long time. Whatever's going on, I hear no complaints from down there. Is that a done deal? Have we wrapped up with the contractor?
Yes, with the contractor is completely done. We have some in-house work that Public Works is planning on doing, some irrigation with sprinklers. We're doing something with one of the areas rather than keep the contractors on the hook. We're still working, so that deal with the contractor is done. They're fully paid, punch list, bonded, all of that stuff. That project is done. There's a few little odds and ends that we're pushing, and one of those is trying to get Entergy to replace a few of those lights, and we're looking at a few other little things in-house, not that are complaint driven, but with we've got a little bit of money left over, so trying to find some landscaping or something like that we can do to improve that area.
Okay, let me ask, there was, at one point when we were talking about it a year ago, I think back when Holloway was the project director, and they said that, I think one of the contract terms was to, at the end, before we signed off, we were gonna do a little drilling in various places especially because of that one spot, it ended up being a big pothole. Did we go ahead and do that drilling? Did we test and make sure that asphalt's thick enough?
Mike, I don't know that we drilled, we went through and did the sort of punch list, which required them to do different things.
Yeah, I don't recall any drilling that needed to be done. I do know that, there was a spot down there that was pretty bad. It has been, cut out, undercut, and replaced back. So,
Yeah, is that one area where the water crosses the road or goes under the road?
yeah, for the most part.
Okay.
I think, I'm trying to remember the resident's name, Janet Watkins, Miss Watkins. It was close to her house, I believe, in front of it, so. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's down a little ways from her, but, could you check that contract and just make sure we didn't have the ability to do that and just check the thickness on that, just to make sure?
Sure, we inspected it, so, you know, when they
Yeah.
dug it out and put it back in, we were aware of it and, you know, it was put back to our standards.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
I was talking
and
about,
engineer standards, so.
I was talking about other places on the road. I thought there was gonna be some testing done at various places on the road.
I'll look at the contract.
Please,
and
please
see,
look at
but
that and make
okay,
sure we
yeah.
get that done, because, I'd hate for that to fall apart here in 2 years and we not
Gotcha.
have
Yeah,
any
I can
recourse.
see, if core samples are required or whatever, to see if they need to be done. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan.
Yes, sir.
Any additional council member comments? City attorney comments? Mr. City Attorney.
Just certainly encourage everybody to vote. Early voting starts today, I believe. I know it's mostly judicial races, as well as the presidential primaries, I guess. You'll also see, like we had Judge Pierce come in last meeting. You have Little Rock District Court positions that'll be on our ballot, Pulaski County District Court positions that'll be on our ballot, in addition to Court of Appeals and Supreme Court cases.
Thank you, sir. City Clerk?
I do. I want to just make a couple things clear. We have had an incredible influx of solicitors, and I just wanted to remind you all and the public that's watching, on our website, we list who is approved to solicit in Maumelle. So you can find that information on the city clerk's page, and we're also working on informational card, if you will, just showing you who is legally authorized to solicit in Maumelle. As Mr. Grimmer stated, the number of solicitors we are getting is incredibly unprecedented. It takes a good 5 to 7 days to process each application, and we take soliciting in Maumelle incredibly seriously. We vet them, we run background checks on them, and if a criminal background check is found, the chief of police is consulted, the captain of the police department is consulted, and also legal counsel is consulted. These decisions aren't made lightly. They are given great consideration, but I do want you guys to be cognizant of who you let, do your roof repairs. I know there was quite a bit of damage. I am, actually, my office has processed at this point 48 hail damage claims, so I can, relate to the need, but you guys want to be cautious as to who you select, and you always have that option to verify them on the website. That list is updated every Friday. So if you just see 6 names, or 6 companies, those are the only ones vetted through the city of Maumelle. And lastly, I wanted you guys to know that in addition to doing our due diligence, vetting these people, we also have a kiosk in the lobby now where you can apply for solicitor's license, you can apply for different permits through planning and zoning. So we're working collectively together to try not to get a backlog of needs and ask.
Thank you. Mr. Mosley?
Yeah, did you say there's only 6 roofing solicitors that have a license to solicit?
I wasn't being literal, but there's under 10, yes.
Okay.
That's actually been vetted. Now, how many applications have we received? About 60, 70. How many have come back with favorable background checks? Less than half.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, we had somebody came by and wanted to look at our roof, and they did find hail damage, and they said, here, sign here, we'll take care of everything. And I said, well, we're not quite ready to do that yet. Give us a couple of months here, so gotta think about some things. So I hope everybody else will do that.
Yeah, and it's,
And not to say that this person was bad, but
yeah, and we're not talking about business license in regards to my office. We're talking about people who are coming to your residence, asking you for a business. So there is a difference. I'm not saying that the people that are, that you've gotten work done aren't legit, but as far as being properly vetted through my office, they'll be posted on the website.
And that is, just to clarify, or a clarifying question, that's, you guys are vetting their criminal background, not their professional expertise, right?
That is correct, sir.
Just clarifying, it's not a voucher saying that we think this company does good business. We're just checking who that individual is that's knocking at your door. With the idea being that someone at home can feel safe or not when that happens. All right, at this time, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to adjourn the city council meeting of February the 20th, 2024.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion on Mr. Holt's motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.